All right, on this Wii Sports special, I am bringing back a familiar guest. It is Coach Ro Russell. He is the head coach of Crestwood Preparatory Basketball Program, the founder of Grassroots Elite. He's been on my podcast. He's been on a couple of my specials with some of his players, and he's back again tonight to talk about a new special documentary, TSN original, Prince of the North, on 16-year-old Elijah Fisher. He is Coach Ro Russell. Coach, how you doing, man? Welcome back.
Hey, what's up, Lucas? How you doing, man? Thanks for having me. The documentary was really good, man, and love to talk about it and reflect about it.
Well, listen, I mean, just a bit of housekeeping off the top. I mean, if you haven't already, I've had Ro on a couple times, episode 9 and episode 28 of my podcast, the Wii Sports Chronicles, so you can make sure to check out those episodes there. I had the main star of the documentary, Elijah Fisher, on episode 8 of my podcast. But tonight, yeah, I mean, like I said off the top, bro, we're gonna dive deep into this documentary on Elijah Fisher. So maybe we'll just start before we get into the nitty-gritty details of this documentary created by Rick Westhead. When did Rick and TSN come to you with this idea that they wanted to do a documentary on Elijah?
Well, Rick had done a story last year on our girls, back-to-back OSBA champion girls program, and he did a story on them. And then while he was at Crestwood, he said he'd love to do one in the future on Elijah. And I said, okay, as we go, a lot of things are going to happen, a lot of things to cover. And, you know, during the pandemic, from like March to maybe, Elijah had grown at age. She put on about, 10, 12 pounds. And now he's up to like 217, 6'7". And, he's been in the gym the whole entire time. And he had hit me up and said, hey, is it possible, that we can come in and, the summertime and maybe again in the fall to do some stuff with Elijah at Crestwood at his house and so forth. So I said, no problem. So the school, approved it, and, they came and did some stuff, and that's a lot of most what you see, at Crestwood, at his house and so forth.
Yeah, and certainly there's some great footage of the school and of family moments with Elijah. And anyone that listens to this knows, who's seen sports features, I think that's what makes it very special. So, was it difficult, Ro, getting this all proved? I mean, I know we're in a pandemic, obviously, but what were the challenges of just making sure that this documentary could happen amidst the COVID-19 pandemic? So making sure that, I mean, I'm sure health protocols must have been adhered to, etc. So I'm just curious from your perspective.
Yeah, it was very strategically done in terms of adhering to COVID protocols and limitations of how many people can be in a gym and all that stuff. So, the guys came in with their mask and certain time when people weren't around, and just, very delicately, just, covered, the whole nine that you saw in the documentary.
And when the documentary starts, you see a lot of Elijah footage of him in the gym or him doing dunks, and anyone who's seen Elijah live like myself knows the dunks are incredible. I mean, there's certainly a trademark of him, but it's also the family moments. And I think of Elijah, watching him make pancakes with his family. He's one of 6 kids. Can you maybe elaborate on how important is that, the whole family aspect to the Elijah Fisher story and this documentary itself?
Well, it's very, very important because from day one, having to start this process as a fifth grader, where most of your childhood is then replaced by traveling and training and playing and all these different things surrounding basketball. He was away from his family those times, and so to be able to be a kid, to be able to be with his family, just wind down and spend time and just laugh and joke and relax, and not have to put on that Superman costume all the time, to go out there and live up to that, moniker, that image that he's built. And so those times with his family are great times to wind down and just chill and relax and laugh and joke and play dominoes, play Monopoly, play cards, and watch movies and have a fun time with all his brothers and his family. So, he really cherishes those moments because his schedule is so crazy. You know what I mean? I don't know any player that has in Canada for sure that has a schedule like he does. You know what I mean? And that's his passion, that's his joy, that's what he loves to do. But more importantly, he loves to be with his family.
Yeah, and I think Elijah makes the point as well, and so do his parents, who are both featured in the documentary, that everyone has to chip in. Like, it's not like one player, one member of the family, one of the kids is getting preferential treatment. I get the sense from watching the documentary that, look, there's a lot of, everyone has to, everyone has an equal role, everyone has an equal job. You have to chip in to help, to make sure like it's not gonna be given to you, it's not handed to you. You got to work and earn in the family life, and that way, and that sort of translates, I guess, with Elijah to on the basketball court as well. That work ethic that he is, that he possesses, which has gotten him this far, at this point in his life, and it's certainly going to take him beyond in his basketball career.
Definitely, he has to do his chores. You know what I mean? He has to babysit his little brother. He has to make sure his younger brother is woken up and off to school, and help him with his homework, and just do all the different things. Go get groceries for his mom, and just he's got to also have that regular life. And with all those brothers in the house, you know, you got to be your brother's keeper. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? You got to help out, and as an older brother, you got to look out for your younger brothers, and be that leader, and be that that guy that is a good role model to his younger brothers as well. So it's really making him mature and be responsible and be a leader, and so it satisfied a lot of those things. So it's all good.
I think one of the really great moments in the documentary, and it's really shot well, because I remember this is something that I asked Elijah when speaking with him for the podcast, was this idea of getting a reminder on his phone that says "you suck," and it's not like someone was messaging him. That this was a pre-done reminder that Elijah created for himself, to serve as motivation. And I think what Rick and TSN did a really nice job of was giving us that visual, like zooming in on the phone, getting that notification appearing. Can you maybe just talk a little bit about that and how that serves as motivation for Elijah?
Definitely. When I had seen it myself, I was like, "Yo, who's trying to be negative with you? Who's trying to, you know, you know, send those kind of messages to you? Let's try to reach out to them and get something done." And he's like, "No, coach, that I put that in there." And then I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, this is a reminder that I got work to do. I've done some things, but I got tons to do, and I got to keep working. So if I get this reminder that hey, you suck, it's a little bit harsh, but it works for him, and he's gonna get back in the gym. He's gonna get back on the saddle. He's gonna take those a couple of more shots, and those couple more rebounds, and those couple more foul shots, and all those different things to keep getting better and better and better. So that's just how he thinks, and that's his mindset, and he's just getting better and better through those kind of aids.
You, of course, were featured in the documentary. You had some moments in there as well. I'm just curious, how long was the interview that you spent with Rick? And is it sort of surreal that, like, because I've done video features before where you interview someone for so long, but it might just be a few quotes that were taken out from that long interview that actually make the feature, that make the feature documentary. So I'm just curious what that process was like for you, being one of the secondary voices that added a lot of perspective and insight into the feature for Elijah.
Well, they came to Crestwood and they interviewed me for like maybe half an hour and asked a whole bunch of questions. And, I fully understand and I don't mind whatsoever, any way I could help and give background and insight on what the whole situation is. It's all good. And they took some really good pointing moments that, I said some very, newsworthy things and certain things that were insightful and to the core of what that they wanted to get across. So, I think it was done really well.
And I think also too, Ro, in any of these feature documentaries, and I'm sure if I had Rick Westhead on this show, that he'd explain it as well. Is I think the documentary shines because of the secondary voices. I mean, it's great to hear Elijah. Obviously, he's the main subject of the feature documentary, but you get your voice, you get Jason Tom's voice, you get his family, which I think is just so important because it just completes, I feel, the picture of who this 16-year-old is. And I think sometimes people could be watching this documentary and don't know who he is. So the fact that TSN decided not just get Elijah, I think was a very strategic move that made the feature really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a village. It takes a village, and
Yeah.
it's a whole team, and you got a lot of moving parts. A home, in the gym, in the classroom. You got so much other coaches that have seen him on a daily basis, and in their leagues and all that kind of stuff. So it's good to have a wide range of comments and inclusion in this documentary. So it's not just only Elijah saying what he feels and he thinks, which is super important, but also what other people feel about him and how he's impacted them, and how he's how he's getting impacted. So I think that it was really, really good in terms of having those voices, especially his parents.
Yeah.
Like to hear from his mother. His father's been on a few different podcasts and interviews and different things like that. But to hear from mom, what I'm saying, and hear what she's talking about and what she's thinking and the whole nine, I think was really good.
And I like how they included, because this was a moment, like one of the first times that I had the chance to meet you, Ro, at the CISA Championship where Crestwood won. You talked about the story how like you and Elijah would practice at 5 a.m. So I'm really glad that this documentary included that little story there of just how, again, it just shows Elijah's ability to work and wanting to get better, that he's willing to make that sacrifice from Oshawa to go practice and get you up early 5 a.m. to go practice so that he can get better on the basketball court.
Exactly. That to me, that's what got him going. That's what really kickstarted his mentality, his passion, his work ethic, his mental toughness is, to get up and let's go, let's work. And when you get there, you might see a 20-year-old, you might see a 25-year-old that's playing pro, a college player, and that's where you want to be, and that's where you want to get to and further. And let's go compete and play against the older guys and push yourself and challenge yourself and see how far you can go and learn from them. So that was a big part of his maturation process and his initial love of the game. To have it at such a high level it's helped him to be who he is now.
There's a moment in the documentary where Elijah says that there was a particular moment, I believe it was where he may have not qualified for a specific team, and it, quote, really humbled him. And I remember it was in the middle of the documentary that, they made reference to that, and I really liked how the camera sort of shot Elijah walking through the school. I think it sort of provided a nice visual about what he was experiencing and what he was feeling. Can you elaborate a bit on that and just, I guess, I mean, you're not the director, but why do you think that was such a impactful moment for the documentary to sort of hear about a bit of adversity for Elijah early on in his career and how that shaped him?
Yeah, definitely. Great men, great women of our society. At one point or another, they had that moment, that just changed them forever. Whether it be not making a team, flunking out of school, being bullied, whatever, some traumatic moment or some really poignant moment that made them really say, okay, that's it. That's enough. Okay, now I'm going to go at the next level. Now I'm going to switch up. Now I'm going to really, show what I got. And, not making that team, was one of his moments that, okay, didn't make it, but one of these days they're going to call me. They're going to want me to play for them. And, that happened, you know what I'm saying? And he, has had those chips on his shoulders ever since. And that's what makes him who he is, because he has that little MJ in him where, things motivate him, things challenge him, and he finds different things to really get him going, and self-motivate him, which is important because a lot of kids, if they need everything to be perfect. They need someone else to say, come on, Johnny, let's go, let's do this. They need a helping hand, encouragement, which is great, but Elijah doesn't need all that. It's inside of him. He can go and say, okay, this guy said this to me. This comment was made about me. Okay, we're down and we need to, get back at this, this team, or, whatever it is. He finds these different motivational things that he just says, okay, I'm going to the next gear. I'm going to just go to another level with this, so that was his moment.
Yeah, and I think like you said, every great player that's ever gone through the NBA, their ability to conquer adversities, I feel like, is a real critical juncture for them. And I think it was sort of a critical juncture for Elijah, and they make reference to in the documentary, what's the moment here? Like, what's the moment where I'm gonna be? Is it gonna be a great player, an NBA player, or not? And I think it was really great that the documentary showed that. Obviously, introducing you and how you've been so influential, and then of course Elijah turning heads down south of the border, right? I think that's also a great mention as well in the documentary where. Look, the fact that this kid at such a young age is turning heads in the United States as a Canadian obviously shows that this is not just any normal basketball player. This is a once-in-a-generation talent.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to be the best, you got to play against the best. You got to practice with the best, and you got to play against the best. So, we had to, go down to the States and have him go at the top players in the country at their age group and, prove that, what he could do, and for him to see where he's at and what all the hard work has done so far. And, he definitely caught a lot of eyes and attention, and, he's gotten ranked, even though he doesn't live in America, he's ranked down there. He has, tons of offers, and everybody. I remember one time I went to the Final Four in Minneapolis a couple years ago, and I was just walking in the mall. They're one of the biggest malls in the world in Minneapolis, and I was just walking in the mall, and I said to myself, I'm going to try a little experiment. And I saw this father and his son, maybe about 9, 10 years old, walking down the mall. So then I just kind of like approached them, and said, "Hey, sir, 1 second, please. Do you mind if I speak to your son for a second?" And he kind of looked at me like, "Who is this guy? What do you want with my son?" And I said, "Hey, I'm a basketball coach, but I just have a quick question for your son." And I said, "Hey, young man, I was just wondering, do you like basketball?" He's like, "Oh, I love basketball." I said, "You think, you're going to be a good basketball player one day?" He's like, "Yeah, I definitely want to be." I said, "I just have a quick question for you, because I'm from Canada." And he looked at his father, and his father said, shook his head like, "You could answer, because I'm right here to support you." And I said, "Have you heard of Elijah Fisher?" And he said, "Oh, Elijah Fisher, who is he?" Oh man, I definitely know Elijah Fisher. Oh my goodness, you know what I mean? And I was with a couple guys with me, and I just looked at them and I said, "See, like they even know who Elijah Fisher is in a mall in Minneapolis. American, 10-year-old young man, up and coming baller, knows who he is, and he's from another country, so he's really definitely, put his name out there, and really is becoming a household name as you go into it, and so that's really good to see."
That's a great story. And a side note, I was actually at that Final Four in Minneapolis covering it. It was my first Final Four as a member of the media, and it was it was the last Final Four because there was no March Madness this year. It was quite memorable. Virginia beating Texas Tech, so it was quite a great week. But
definitely.
But Ro, a couple. I mean, I really think again another strength of the documentary is how it starts and ends with some highlights of Canadian basketball success stories, and of course, 2020. We saw what Jamal Murray did in the bubble, and how he was so spectacular for the Denver Nuggets. And look, there's so many Canadian NBA players now with RJ Barrett, and the list goes on. A lot of top names, and I'm just curious for you when you were watching the documentary, like you provide some helpful perspective because you've obviously worked with a lot of the top Canadian basketball players, and I guess this is just the golden age right now, and you and I have talked about it, and Elijah could be, if he continues to work hard and be on that path, like he could be in that group of names with the Jamal Murrays, the RJ Barretts of the world. So it's which I think is pretty amazing, and I think it's a nice touch for the documentary to have Elijah be in the conversation already, potentially with some of the best in the NBA.
Yeah, definitely. When you see him, 6'7", 217, you know what I'm saying, with the whole package now. Now that he's added a jump shot and the whole nine, a kid that intense and that strong, and with the defensive prowess that he has, you could fast forward to a few years from now and see, with all the people around him that are supporting him and making sure he works hard, he goes to school and does as good as well as he can do in class, and keeps his faith, and just has that work ethic and that character. He's a kid that definitely could be in that conversation with those great Canadians that we've had over the decades and recently. And so it's good to see. It's a good indication for him to see that his hard work is paying off, and he's still got a lot of work to do to get there, but at least he knows on track. So it was good for them to show the Jamal Murrays and the Sheas and the Tristan Thompsons and the Corey Josephs and all the rest of them out there that are done great things and are doing big things in the NBA and so forth, and that one day Elijah could be amongst those guys, playing with Team Canada in the Olympics, or whatever the case may be, being in an All-Star game, or who knows how far it could go. You know what I'm saying? But the potential and the mindset is all there, and those are secret ingredients in terms of getting as far as you can go.
And I think there's a really great moment towards the end of the doc where Rick asks Elijah, like, do you think it's appropriate to have so much spotlight on a grade or on a fifth or sixth grader? Basically asking, like, this, you've already had so much attention put on you. How do you stay grounded? And Elijah said a great answer. He just says, like, I'm just gonna be grounded, right? Like, I'm always gonna be grounded. I'm not gonna get the ego or the big head that some people get with all this attention. And I think from my conversations with Elijah and my conversations with you, the doc clearly shows that this is someone that is going to stay grounded. He has that great support system in his family where, this is someone that's been handed scholarships so early on, right? And is going to continue to get the spotlight put on him as he continues throughout his basketball career. But I don't think this is someone that's going to forget his roots, forget where he came from, forget the support system. And I think that's going to keep him grounded. And I think that's something, he could be, an inspiration to other Canadian basketball players or athletes, just looking at the fact that here's a young kid with all this attention and he's still so humble and so grounded.
Definitely. And that's just a testament to his family in terms of keeping them grounded. Because when I met with them and I said, hey, your son has tremendous potential and I could help him a lot, to go through this incredible journey. But, we got to make sure that he's always grounded and we keep him humble. And his parents are like, hey, I got this. This is what I do. I'm old school and I believe in working hard and being humble and thinking about the next man and working your butt off and earning what you get and the whole nine. And so, like I said before, the whole team that we have, his uncle, his godfather, his aunt, his different older brother, his mentors, myself, his strength conditioning coach, everybody. There's so much people around him that keep reminding him whenever we feel or see any little minor thing that he should be mindful of in terms of staying grounded and humble and getting back in that place and continue working hard. And so it's something that both himself, because he understands it, he gets it. Elijah's been giving back since he was like in 8th grade. In 8th grade, he was going to camps with younger kids and getting involved in camp, speaking to the kids, signing autographs, all that stuff. So he was giving back and helping kids, inspire them and motivate them and give them good words of wisdom and so forth. So, he's a very good kid. So he definitely will continue to be like that. And, if he ever, steps out of line, his parents and everybody else in that team will put him right back where he needs to be.
So you mentioned it earlier. I mean, he's put on some, he's increased the pounds. He's been putting more work at the gym during the pandemic. He's starting to shoot a lot more. He's starting to develop that jump shot. What's 2021 going to look like for Elijah Fisher and your Crestwood program?
Well, as you know, with our Crestwood program, it's not just Elijah Fisher. Obviously, he's the anchor. He's that, that star power. But right behind him, you got Ramad Dean, you got Zayden Cross, you got Dezane Mingo, you got Keyshawn Laddie, you got Kaylon Nichols, you got Elias Papa Constantinos, you got, all these different guys coming up the pipeline. Our JV squad that's going to be, coming out from the rare to be able to continue this, powerhouse program we built from scratch. We have guys coming to, keep it going. Mm-hmm. And, we're just trying to figure out, trying to see where it brings us in 21. We're trying to work on some things in terms of trying to play, trying to maybe go to the U.S., trying to, just, do something to be able to, stay hungry and stay positive and stay competing, until such time as that, we can actually allow to do so. So, he's been a great leader in terms of that. And the best is yet to come.
For sure, and maybe one last question for you, Ro. I mean, this documentary comes out, we get to see Elijah Fisher and the makings of someone that could be an NBA talent. You've talked about what he possesses on the court. What would you say is sort of the next step for that in his basketball development in terms of what he may need to work on to hone or to perfect in order for him to take that next step when he goes to, let's say, perhaps college and then of course professional?
I think that whatever it is, he's one of those kids that's going to get it.
Yeah.
Because he understands about refining your skills, perfecting your skills, mastering your craft. He's all about getting better, Okay, my jump shot isn't great. Okay, let's get in the gym. So this whole time that we've been off, it's been pretty good for him to work on his jump shot. Now he's taken, if you had dots in a shot chart, it would show him now in practice and training, taking a lot of three-point shots off the dribble with separation, mid-range pull-ups, fadeaways, turn, twists, and spins, and all those different things to get jumpers off. He has the athleticism and the slashing ability down pat. Now, he understands that he needs to get to that point where when the double teams come and with, zones and all those closely guarded help side, he's going to be, comfortable shooting that jumper, whether it be, freely or in tight coverage. And so, he's just getting better in all aspects. He has a really good IQ, and he's a student of the game. He's always watching videos and watching games, but watching it for the art of the game and the IQ of the game, and being that guy that wants to learn more and absorb more and understand what's going on in the game from a fundamental standpoint, rather than just the dunks and moves and great plays. So. He's one of those kids that's just moving up the ladder, and his ceiling is so high that, he's going to get to a level where he has a pretty complete game. And so we're always refining, we're always having film study and chalk talk and one-on-one interviews and training and, strength conditioning and therapy and everything. So he's always about improving to be the best self, a version of himself that he can be.
Prince of the North is a fantastic TSN original. If you haven't watched it yet, I highly recommend you do. It's on 16-year-old Elijah Fisher, and want to give a shout out and credit to Rick Westhead, who created that. And thank you, Ro Russell. He is the head coach of Crestwood Preparatory College, the founder of Grassroots Elite. I'm really blessed and privileged again to have the chance to speak with you, Ro. I met you back in February at the Crestwood Championship, and it's been great to get to know you, to highlight you, the program at Crestwood, Elijah, and I look forward to doing this many years down the road. So thank you so much, Ro, for joining me on this Wii Sports special.
Definitely, I appreciate you bringing me on, and it was fun, talking about the documentary and who is this Prince of the North and what makes him tick, and getting some insight and some background and keep it talking and keep it moving. So appreciate for having me on.